Hello boys and girls, and welcome to today's math lesson for today. Today we're going to be doing lesson 7.10, which is titled Practice Telling Time. And the essential question that we're going to be thinking about today and answering at the end of this lesson is, what are the different ways you can read the time on a clock? So we're just going to be learning about different ways to read time on a clock. There's many different types of clocks. There's a digital clock, which actually has the numbers on it, which is a lot easier to tell. But then we also have the clock that we've been working on a lot lately in math, with all the hands and numbers on that as well, which is a little bit harder to tell. So we're gonna practice doing some more of telling time on different clocks. So let's take a look at this video.
Hi there. Have you eaten lunch today? I did. My friends ate lunch too. Carlos ate lunch at 12:15. Blaine ate lunch at 12:30. I ate lunch at 12:15. Blaine told me two of us ate lunch at the same time, but I'm getting confused by the different ways to read time on a clock. Come with us to learn more.
Let's practice telling time. This clock shows 4:15. Let's show this on the digital clock. The hour hand points between the 4 and 5. And the minute hand points to the 3, which means 15 minutes have passed. The time on this clock is 6:45. Let's show this on the digital clock. The hour hand points between the 6 and 7. And the minute hand points to the 9, so 45 minutes have passed. This clock shows 7:20. Let's show this time on the digital clock. The hour hand points between the 7 and 8. And the minute hand points to the 4, which means 20 minutes have passed. The time on this clock is 12:10. Let's show this on the digital clock. The hour hand points between the 12 and 1. And the minute hand points to the 2, so 10 minutes have passed. Listen to this story. Let's match the time of each child's activity with the correct clock. Luke plays football at 4:15. Which digital clock shows the time Luke plays football? This clock shows the time Luke plays football, 4:15. Beth eats lunch at 12:10. Which clock shows the time Beth eats lunch? This clock shows when Beth eats lunch, 12:10. Ivy reads a book at 6:45. Which clock shows the time Ivy reads a book?
So as you can see just from these examples, the digital clock is very easy to read, right? So whenever she says 4:15, we can just click the one that says 4:15. They always start with hours first and then minutes. So in the last one too, they said 12:10, so 12:10, 6:45. So digital clock's a little bit easier to read.
This clock shows the time Ivy reads a book, 6:45. Rowan eats breakfast at 7:20. Which clock shows the time Rowan eats breakfast? This clock shows when Rowan eats breakfast, 7:20.
So like I said, digital clock's a little bit easier to read. Of course, there's going to be times where you might be able to actually read the time on a digital clock, but we still want to learn about the other clock as well with the hands on it, because there might be a time when you don't have a digital clock and you might only be able to use a regular clock. But digital clocks are definitely easier to read. Like I said, whenever you see the numbers there, you would just read that time like the numbers are shown. So 7:20, 4:15, 6:45, 12:10. Okay?
Let's say the time in different ways. What time does the analog clock show? Let's look at the hour hand and the minute hand. The hour hand points between the 2 and 3. The minute hand points to the 3. If we count to the 3 by 5s, we get to...
So let's do that right now. So let's count by 5s and get all the way to the 3. We did this before in our last lesson. So remember, each number on the clock here is worth 5 minutes. So we're going to count by 5s. So 5, 10, 15. So right now this clock right here is showing 2:15.
15. So this clock shows 2:15. Or 15 minutes after 2. Another way to say this is 2:15. What time does this analog clock show? Let's look at the hour hand and minute hand. The hour hand points halfway between the 2 and 3. The minute hand points to the 6. If we count to the 6 by 5s, we get to...
So let's do that now. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30.
30. So this clock shows 2:30. Or 30 minutes after 2. Another way to say this is 2:30. What time does this clock show?
So let's talk about this one for a second. So the hour hand is pointing in between the 9 and the 10. So we know that the hour is going to be 9. And then we're going to count the minutes hand. We're going to count by 5s all the way to 6. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So the time that this clock is showing should be 9:30. Or you can say 9:30, and we'll get into more of why they call it that in the next video, but for right now we can just say that the time shown is 9:30.
9:30. The hour hand points halfway between the 9 and 10, and the minute hand points to the 6. What is another way to say 9:30? Select the answer.
So another way to say 9:30, it's saying blank minutes after 9. So if it's 9:30, then that means that we have been 30 minutes past 9. So we can also say 30 minutes after 9.
Great job! Another way to say 9:30 is 30 minutes after 9. What time does this clock show?
Okay, so we see that the hour hand is in between the 10 and 11, so we know that the hour is going to be 10, and then let's count our minutes by 5s again. So 5, 10, 15. So we know that this clock is showing 10:15.
10:15. The hour hand points between the 10 and 11, and the minute hand points to the 3. What is another way to say 10:15?
So another way to say 10:15 is you could also say 15 minutes past 10, like we did on the last one, because there's it's 10:15, so 15 minutes after 10 o'clock. And again, when the minute hand is on the 3, we could say quarter past 10 as well. And the reason for that, and I'll explain this more in the next video, but if you were to divide or partition the clock into fourths by drawing a line from the 12 all the way down to the 6, and then drawing another line from the 9 going across to the 3, you would be able to partition the clock into fourths. And remember how we talked about how 1/4 of an object that's partitioned into fourths, it can also be considered a quarter, right? We also said that 25 cents or 1/4 is 25 cents, and you need 4 quarters to make a dollar or a whole. So our fractions lessons kind of play into this as well as telling time. So when the minute hand is on the 3, and if you broke this clock up into fourths, then the hand would be on the very end of that 1/4. So we can also say that 10:15 is 15 minutes past 10, or we can say quarter past 10, because again, if you were to partition the clock into fourths, this minute hand would be at the very end of 1/4. And I'll show you this more by drawing it and showing you pictures of it on the next video. But for now, we can just say that 10:15 can also be called quarter past 10.
Excellent! Another way to say 10:15 is quarter past 10. Now let's practice with the personal math trainer.
Alrighty. So Lily eats food at 9:15. Meg eats food at 9:30. Katie eats food at 9:15. Which girls eat food at the same time? So Lily eats food. That the hardest one to figure out is that very first one. Lily eats food at 9:15. So if you remember what I said from just a few minutes ago, quarter past could also be 15 minutes past the time, right? So in this case, if she's eating at 9:15, that means that Lily is eating at 9:15. Meg is eating food at 9:30, and Katie eats food at 9:15. So the two people that eat food at the same time are going to be Lily and Katie. So we're going to click on Lily and Katie. Okay, and it's not letting me. There we go. And we're going to check our answer.
Good job!
All right, nice. Soccer practice starts at 4:35. Gabe arrives at soccer practice at 4:15. Does he arrive before or after practice starts? So let's think about this one. So if we had a clock, right, and we both know that the hour for both times is 4. So we know that if we were to look at a clock, we would know that the small hand, the hour hand, is pointing in between the 4 and the 3, right? So now we would count on the minutes, and we would see which one comes first. So we're going to count on by 5s. So 5, 10, 15. So 4:15 comes first, because then if you keep going, 4:15, so 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, right? So Gabe arrives at soccer practice at 4:15, but it doesn't start until 4:35. So does he arrive before or after practice starts? Gabe arrives before soccer practice, because 4:15 is before 4:35.
Awesome!
Okay.
Now try your homework on your own with the personal math trainer. It includes the exercise you saw at the beginning of the lesson.
Okay, so at this time, if you guys are feeling comfortable with going on Think Central to complete your assignment for 7.10, you can definitely do so. I highly encourage that you go and watch the other video to this lesson as well, because I'm going to be doing some more demonstrations with some more examples and giving you some more activities so that you can really understand how to tell time in different ways. So definitely check out that video, and then log into Think Central and complete your assignment for 7.10. Okay, everybody? Great job.